All right, everyone, welcome back. Here we are again at the Hippie Moms podcast, and we are with Angela Ferrari again. Thanks for being here, Ange.
I'm always happy to be here. Thank you for
No,
having me.
this is kind of like um, we've had a three-part podcast series, and this is the last one. And we're kind of wrapping it up in a nice little bow. And really here to talk about meditation and kind of the thing that we've been talking about a lot. Like if you want all these things, you want to have clear intuition and become more connected to that divine voice, or if you want to heal your triggers and those moments in your life that cause you the biggest pain and suffering, what do we have to do? You
Yeah.
know,
hmm Yeah.
and move it. Go ahead.
Oh, well, to piggyback on that, there's an overconsumption of information right now, which is causing a glitch in our brains,
Mhm.
which is causing ADD. ADD becomes the outcome because the brain doesn't know how to handle so much information. And so to bring everything down to its simplest form, it's meditation.
Mm,
And we can really have a beautiful conversation around meditation because the outcome of meditation is all of the things that we're kind of searching for in this overconsumption
mm.
of information.
So true. And it really makes me think about, how humans have lived the majority, of our existence on earth. We've been in nature. We've been in small communities, we've been going to sleep by the fire, waking up to the sunshine. We don't have all these kind of artificial things now that we are exposed to.
Mm,
And so the human mind, I think, is just so overloaded. And if we can understand that that's really the cause of a lot of our suffering, is there's
mm,
just so much
yeah,
that we can't process it.
yeah. And we have lost our main superpower, which is the ability to focus.
Mm,
And because the ability to focus in an extended period of time, even say that's 5 minutes on something you're intending, that in itself, where your focus goes, your energy goes. It's like a tube that
mhm.
then causes that shift in our lives. And because we're bouncing all over from this thing to this thing, this thing to this thing, and we're like, yeah, I want to do this, and then all of a sudden you're like, what was that thing? And you
Yeah.
find yourself, you're in a room, you're like, what was I going to do over here? Well,
Yes.
that is the outcome of all the pings and the dings and the stuff and the stuff
Mm,
and the stuff. So it's okay that we live in this day and age. Like it's okay. We don't have to be in resistance because this is where we are.
right.
It's sort of like we could track our grandparents when they would be like, "Oh, you kids today," or your parents even like, "You kids
Yeah.
today." Back when I was young,
Yeah.
it's okay that this is where we are.
Yeah.
It's just now we make the best of where we are, and there's these. It's unfortunate that they have to be called secrets,
Yeah.
but all that a secret is it's not mainstream. It's not, the news isn't talking about it. The schools aren't really
Right.
talking about it. But nonetheless, there's so much data around the power of this, even way back when Albert Einstein, Nikola Tesla, I mean, they solved many of these things for us. They were a little ahead of their time, but they
Mhm.
planted the seed. So now it's just about creating a modern day language in simplicity so
Mm,
that we can begin to get this secret, quote unquote, and that changes everything that you've been essentially chasing the hard way.
I love that. And something that kind of came up as you were speaking is like some people can just almost think negatively about meditation, whether that be how religions or maybe it's like
Mm,
overused.
mm,
But how you said it, it's like it's really about strengthening your focus. That's
yeah,
really what we're doing
yeah.
in meditation and finding stillness is strengthening our focus because
Mm,
what we focus on grows in our lives.
yes. And so even if you wanted to utilize a religious context, that's so beautiful for you. I mean, my grandmother was a devout Catholic, and her devotion was one of the most beautiful things I've ever witnessed because it was all about the devotional practice. And she had the ability to keep her focus there. I mean, I remember watching her, observing her do the rosary for an extended period of time, like one bead after another bead. And I felt the sincerity in her because she was so immersed in that moment, not wanting to be, not a means to an end, not wanting to be any other place than where she is. And ultimately, that was focus. That was her ability to focus.
It's so beautiful.
Hmm.
It's so beautiful that you got to see that reflected back to you. And then now, as I look at you, you are truly helping so many people,
Mm,
um, not only enhance their focus, but truly change their lives through
mm,
using these tools and these deep understandings about our life.
mm,
And I think that as we move through, this conversation, it's really important to kind of realize for our listeners, like, that how we exist right now, the stress, the overwhelm, the not enough time, that's almost, it's kind of become normal, right, in our lives.
mm,
And at some point we get to it where we're just so tired of our suffering, or we see ourselves lash out at our children, and there comes a point where it's like, I'm ready to do whatever I need to create a new way of living, because it gets to a point where it's just, we have to numb ourselves, right? In order to live, we have to numb, we have to drink or use cannabis or shop or do all these things. Eventually, we get to a point where not even that works anymore.
mm. Yeah. And the tricky thing about it is it's not a conscious numbing normally.
Mm,
It's really just a go-to because it's the outcome of a busy mind. The mind
mm,
now has forgotten how to be still, where all of our, again, I'll call it superpowers, because inside of the stillness, everybody is like, there's a snowflake code to every human. And that means that there, before you or after you, will never be another you and what that expression is in the world. It's simply that in the busyness of the go, 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 do, this, that can't activate in you. It could only activate in your stillness, in that deliberate pause in your life. And so when we suppress what is designed to be expressed,
mm,
the outcome of that is that I have to stay busy because that becomes very painful, that I'm not fully expressed. That's in sort of what my destiny, we'll call it, is.
mm. Yeah, it's almost like we become so busy because it is so uncomfortable to be
Mhm.
still for so many of us,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
bored, because the mind can be like, this is boring. I'm going to sit here
Hmm.
for 5 minutes when I have all these other things to do. Why would I even do that?
Yeah,
Like,
it,
doesn't
it
make sense.
makes no logical sense to the busy mind. And we have now programmed that in the busy mind, just sort of like a virus in a computer. And the
Mm,
computer begins to believe or function, I'll say, in a way that is not of value. And
mm,
so there is a reprogramming that has to occur. And there's a bit of a rite of passage into that we have to go through, that the mind is going to fight for what it's programmed to be, because that
mm,
is the contraption that we're in that what the mind is designed to do is keep us in familiar, because
mm,
that equals survival. Listen, I've got a
mm,
file for how this is supposed to look. Even if the mind's not biased, it doesn't matter if you program something that causes suffering. All it knows is that it's supposed to keep you in what is familiar to you. And
mm,
so then it is up to us. And that's what I'm talking about, these secret doors. Then it's simply, once you reprogram, then it's all you. You're not following what somebody says or how somebody tells you need to be or what somebody says you need to do. No, you're the leader. You're causing all of this through that activation. But now we have to begin to show the mind and go through that again. I'll call it a rite of passage where the mind's
Mhm.
going to fight you and
Yeah.
give you all these reasons to your point of why this is not logical at all. And what are you doing? And most people stop right in there.
Yeah.
That's why there's no real follow through, because they're like, I tried it. I remember having several friends, they'd be like, I've tried meditation. I'm just not, it's not for me. It's not, my brain is not designed for that. I've got the special brain. No, you don't. No, you don't. We all have to go through that. We all have to sit there and realize that I've been trying to meditate for, we'll call it 5 minutes. And the whole time, all my mind did was wander. And so
Mhm.
I've chalked it up to my mind. I'm not designed for this. No, no, no. Your mind is simply revealing how much you have lost the ability to focus. And
Mm.
so, even if you sit there for 5 minutes and you wander off for the whole 5 minutes and attempt to keep bringing the mind back, that is the best thing you could ever do for yourself, is that repetition to show the mind, we're coming back, we're coming back. I know you're fighting me. We're coming back, we're coming back, we're coming back. And you don't think there's going to be a ripple effect to that?
Oh, I really do believe you just really put into a beautiful way of understanding that everyone goes through the same thing when they begin to start to meditate. And that one place where, like, oh, my mind just won't shut up. Well, I'm not going to do it. It's like, that's why we need to do it. That's why we need to keep moving forward. And it's like mastering the mind. How do we master the mind? Because the mind's a tool. It's not who we are, right, Ange? It's not, the
Mm-mm.
mind is not us.
No, no, it's a receiving machine. And
Mm,
so, who we truly are is the ability to tune our receiving machine into the
mm,
greatest value of our experience. So some people feel that, oh, I'm successful by worldly external means, so I don't need to meditate. Well, that's only half of the cup.
mhm,
There's a whole other infinite space within us that has once been called, or is still called, the kingdom within, that's now just like some pass by phrase. But no, 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 there's some secret codes in what is the kingdom within, and it's this vast, infinite, universal
mm,
space that, in sense, when that gets activated, we get to bring that into our external experiences, that causes abundance in all areas of life. And no, I'm not saying it makes your life the way you think it should go, or
mm,
perfect.
mm,
However, how I'm sitting in, how I'm being in, how life is going is in a more flow aligned, trusting state. So therefore, when that divine force wants to move a chess piece in a way that I can't fully understand yet, only in hindsight will I allow that versus fight and
mm,
kick and scream. Even though I'm going anyway, I'm gonna kick and fight and scream, even though I'm cool on the outside. You don't know that I'm doing that on the inside.
yeah.
It's the ripple effect into all areas of life. So having it together just externally, again, congratulations. It's just, yeah, do your research, ask anyone. That's still a cup half, that's half of it. I remember sitting with the client, and I've said this story before, but it's so profound and powerful. He was so wildly successful. I live in the Scottsdale area, and the guy had like the best Ferrari in Scottsdale. So do the math on that. It was something else, man. That was like my dream car too. Anyway, he sat there and we sat together, and he looked at me and he said, I can't believe this is it. I can't believe I've done all these things, and here I am, the little boy in me, all I ever wanted was, now I got more money than I know what to do with, and I can't believe this is it.
Mm.
Yeah. So I'm not dissing money. I'm just saying there's more.
Well, and it kind of reminds me of what Jim Carrey says. Like, I wish it says something like, "I wish every person could be famous and get all of the money in the world, the money that they can dream of, and then realize that that's not it."
Yeah.
Because it's not. And that's what we have to, like, change the paradigm in which we which we look at the world through, is that it's not about finding something outside of us to fix us, to make us feel better. It's going in and filling that part of ourselves up
Yeah.
ourselves.
Yes. Yes. And for I get it, you got to feed your family. You got to do, I
Yeah.
understand. That's my
Yeah.
point. It feeds that.
Yeah.
It causes more momentum there in a flow state
Mm-hmm.
versus a fight or, grind it out state. And it's almost, sometimes it feels too good to be true.
Yeah.
Sometimes it feels like, wait, is it, no, why didn't anybody tell me? My dad always said it was about blood, sweat, and tears. And I'm
Oh,
not saying we don't work and we don't do. I'm just saying how we're being in the doing is completely transformed.
well, and it's like how you say, if we're creating wealth and stuff off of I'm not enough, like that's what we're creating, more and more of that. But if we're creating something from I am enough, then it's like those creations are going to be so different. So no matter what you do, right? It doesn't matter what we do, but how are we showing up in that doing? And the only way to show up in a more harmonized and peaceful state is to practice it, right? We
Mm,
have to practice coming into that stillness so that we can start to see the space that can create new actions, right? New
mm,
ways of being, new ways of thinking. And I love how you said that it doesn't change like how life unfolds for you. But what it does change, and I can attest to this, is you're able to be in those experiences and be okay, feel safe,
mm,
and be able to be like, all right, I'm in this. I got this. I'm so safe in this. And it's going to shift and change. But when you feel safe in that, you make choices and decisions from feeling safe rather than trying to defend yourself or being in fear, because then we're just
mm,
creating more of that. So it creates so much more harmony in our lives.
mm. Yeah, absolutely. And we can look at it through the law of physics too. We can look at it through the law of frequency. And that means when I am more in a calm state,
Mhm.
so let's say there's chaos going on around me, and I'm not controlling that. It just is happening around me. Well, what most of us understand is that, like you say, I'm not going to hang out with that person because they caused me to feel pop, 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 right? So I'm being pulled into that chaos as well. But what begins to happen is I become a steady point of ease. I'm still, even that thing out there doesn't have the same capacity to pull me into
Mhm.
it. So
Mhm.
what that then means is we'll say that there are magnets within us.
Mhm.
I am going to then start drawing in what is a match to that magnet that's tuned into that. And when I say stillness or ease, it doesn't mean that I always have to walk around like a Buddhist monk. I love Buddhist
Right.
monks. I'm just saying I don't have to walk around always like, I can have excitements. And the reason I get to play and be excited is because my inner state is centered in a point of ease, which is that I'm still and I'm safe. So now I can be free to create and do all these things outside of like fight or flight and create through fear and because of not enough and all of these things. And then what that does cause is different thoughts, to your point,
Mhm.
different ideas. And that is a law that it's like if you go and let's just say, okay, I remember one time, it was a long time ago, I had to buy this PT Cruiser for work. And don't ask, I just had to. And so I'm driving. I never knew anything about the PT Cruiser. Okay, I'm driving around in the PT Cruiser, and I didn't even really see these things. And all of a sudden, every friggin' where I went, there were PT Cruisers. I'm telling you, there were thousands of them. I park at the grocery store. There was one right next to me. I'd be on the freeway. There were 10 of them. They're like, what is this? So my point of telling you is that I was like, they were there. It's just I wasn't in the frequency of them to experience them. So
Mm.
you want to take that into, if I'm in a state of ease or just more peace of mind, the things that I'm going to draw into my experience are going to be a match for that.
Mm.
And listen, we all know the bosses. Like I experience it myself. Like I have, have to lead in a lot of ways. And when I'm in a state of chaos, it doesn't mean I don't get shit done. It just means I'm not enjoying it very much. It just
Yes.
means I'm not really enjoying myself.
Gosh, it's so true. It's like what we put our focus on, we see more of, right? So why wouldn't we want to put our focus on things that actually bring us joy or that bring us peace, or just the awareness that we are safe in this entire human experience? And we can't get there unless we're able to create those space between the thoughts, the slowing down the mind. Because if we're always in the mind, we're just going to continue to create the same experiences. Look at your life. Everyone has evidence of this.
Yes. And we have to begin to see that a lot of times we want to go after it directly. Like,
Mm,
okay, I want to change this. I want to be peaceful in my
yeah.
life. So I'm going to go be peaceful and be nice to all my neighbors. I understand that, but we have to start to get it's indirect. When you start to feed stillness,
Mhm.
there's an intelligence that gets activated within you that
Mm,
normally falls dormant. And this is a supreme intelligence that then begins to guide. And like suddenly you'll find yourself just being different in these situations. And you'll be the witness of that. You'll be like, oh shit, I would normally have handled this completely differently than I'm handling it now. But I didn't do it direct. I oftentimes too triggered, or I got too much of a program of how it's supposed to look or go. But indirectly, when I feed that stillness, and again, don't take my word for it, get your own evidence. I have enough data, not only in my life, but in the lives of many, 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 many others. That's data. Now it becomes like, facts.
mhm,
But you got to get it regardless. This has been talked about for centuries. You've got to get your own evidence. That's the only way any of this matters, because that's the point. We're listening to what everybody has to say too much and not pausing long enough in the one thing that matters. And that's to activate your own super intelligence, your own. And then you will have your own roadmap, your own guide that's based on you and only you, and we'll stop following what everybody says is like worked for me. Yeah, it's you have your own intelligence, your own knowing.
it simplifies your entire life. I really feel that. I feel like things are simpler. I feel that things are clearer. And because I have access to that stillness, I can access that higher intelligence, not the mind, not the mind that's been programmed. It's like that intelligence, like we were talking about your intuition in the couple podcasts ago, is you're able to connect with that, and the information that you receive is so far beyond what you're going to receive scrolling on Instagram. There's nothing there, that we don't need anything more, any more information, any more books. It's
Mm,
all inside. We
mhm,
just have to be willing to go in. And like you said earlier, we have to move past that. My mind's too busy. I don't have enough time, because that's just, you're in the same thing. You're not going to do anything different. And especially as New Year's resolutions come, we all know they don't work because nothing's changed in the mind. The mind's still the same. So if you don't change it, it's going to be that you're going to have the same experience. And I know we're all here because we want to feel more peaceful, and we want to feel more in our hearts. We want to feel more joy in our lives. And we want to stop spinning,
yeah,
truly.
yeah. Yeah, this truly is a universal conversation for those that really sense that that peace of mind is missing. Like we're consciously aware of that missing. And also, hey, guess what? Life is like, if you're in that stage, because this too will pass no matter where we are,
Yeah.
right? But if you're in like, wow, everything is just going so beautifully in life. Oh my gosh, this is like my favorite time I've ever been in. This is so great. Perfect. Dump your whole being into stillness.
Mm,
Use that up feeling that you have and pour it into you. Because it
mhm.
takes a little more effort when we're, in a lower vibration. When we're in a
Definitely.
higher vibration, pour it in. I've told people this when
Mm,
they enter in new relationships and they're just high on life. I'm like, I'm so happy for you. That's so great. And
mhm,
now use that high and dump it into stillness. He's not going anywhere. She's not going anywhere. She's right there. Yes. But now use it to pour it into the things that really matter. Don't use your high off of borrowed external circumstances, meaning that you're borrowing that high. Now you can use it and really pour it into you. And that's constant and unwavering. It's not going anywhere. Once it's activated,
Mm,
will always, you will not ever not want to cultivate it, because it
yes.
is the most beautiful sacred thing life has to offer. It's just that most people don't give themselves the opportunity to experience that so that they can know that truth for
Mm.
themselves.
Yeah, it's so true because we can go out in the world and it can just kind of reflect back to us how distracted everyone is. When you're talking to someone, they're already thinking about what they're going to say. That's one thing that this work has helped me do is connect so much deeper with the people around me, to my life, to experiences. And instead of being like, oh, what's going to happen? Or even in worry. And I don't feel like I worry as much as I used to. Like
Mm,
I'll catch myself in the spin. I'm like, nope, we're not going there. And
yeah.
like you said, we're magnets. Don't you want to tune your magnet and tune this pulsation that's attracting things in your life within you to attract something of higher frequency of, I don't know, just it's an opportunity to change your life. And I know that sounds so big sometimes, but it is.
Yeah.
It really is. I
Yeah.
can't think of one other thing that can really move the needle like this can.
100%. And speaking to mothers, it's such a devotion
Mhm,
to cause this beautiful life for my child. And
mhm,
there is also no other more beautiful transfer to a child than when you give this stillness to yourself, because the child will then witness it in you, and then through that witnessing, it activates in them. It's
mm,
not a doing, showing, teaching, talking,
yeah.
do as I say, not as I do. It's a witnessing. And when
Mhm,
it's witness, you'll again, don't take my word for it, but I will say this pretty firmly. You owe this to yourself and this
mhm,
experience in life. Like, you don't want to move through this life and not have peeked in that door, not have went through that door. You can always go back to your known. You can always go back. But what if this is really true? What if there really is a door that transforms everything, and you just have to figure out some button in you, some button that allows you to stay consistent and sincere?
mhm.
Because I promise you 100%, there is going to be a time where you're not going to feel like it.
Right.
And that is the only button you have to figure out. Like, how many times do you not feel like picking up your child from school? But there's
Right.
a button and it's unwavering. I'm gonna pick. I know I don't feel like it, but I'm consistent in this. There's no way. And I say sincere too, because this is not just about going through the motions.
Mhm.
And we all know what that feels like, to turn on like whatever sincerity is available for us, where we're not just like saying the thing. I remember I went to, so a relative passed away, and I haven't been in the Catholic Church in a long time. And I grew up in that religion, not super all the time, but I experienced it quite a bit. Anyway, I was watching them do the chants, and I really recognized how beautiful. I don't know if it was chants
Mhm.
or like there was things you're supposed to say at certain times, and I remember feeling so deeply how it was devoid of sincerity. It was
Mm,
like they may as well have been saying, Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow.
mhm,
There was no, but if there was sincerity where they could connect and pour themselves in to
mm,
what was coming out of their mouths, I was like, wow, this is very sacred language. This is sacred.
mm,
So I say those two things. Where is that button in you? I'm telling you, if you can find that button in you, and we're bringing it down to its simplest form, to consistency and sincerity in stillness, which we're speaking to as in meditation right now,
mhm,
it will change your life. It will cause more peace, and there's always more peace.
mm. There's always more. And, I've been working with you, Angela, for almost 4 or 5 years now. And I look back at my life and I see that version of me of just overwhelmed all the time, um, numbing with everything I could. It's like I could never feel okay in my life unless I either had a drink or I had this. I was never like, all right, life is good, right? It was there. I just never felt okay. There was always that underlying anxiety. that not enough, this moment isn't not enough. I'm not enough. And through this practice of building stillness, I feel like when you do that, you have so much more time in your life. You don't fill it with things that don't really matter. You get clear on what's important. You can be present with your children and they feel that. They feel that within you. And then that's what they become. And at the end of the day, as mothers, I truly believe that what we want is we want our children to be resilient and happy and at peace too. And they can't be that unless we're that. And so we have to take the steps. We have to be courageous and consistent and sincere in our devotion to ourselves. And
Mhm.
this is it. I mean, if I could track everything in my life, it's not about eating healthy, eating perfect. It's not about making sure you're working out X amount of days, you're doing all the things. It's like, no, this is number one. And if you do this, everything else falls into place. It truly
Mhm.
does. Everything else starts to unravel and you start and your life starts to change because you have the stillness to make new choices and a new way of being. So
Mm.
I want
Yeah.
that for all of us.
Yeah. And all I can say to, because you said that so beautifully, all I can say to piggyback on that is if there is something in you that that you're clear and aware of that I'm resonating, there's
Mhm,
something within me that's truly resonating. That is your cue. Follow it. Just
mhm,
follow it and let it lead you. There are signs everywhere. We got, when we're resonating, don't just like go on to the next thing. No,
mhm,
follow that.
mhm. And that's why you and I are creating meditation workshops for women, for moms, a place where you can ask questions, where you can really understand. Because I think in a lot of ways, we kind of go into meditation and we're like, okay, it's not working. There's a lot of questions that come up.
Yeah.
Is this right? Am I supposed to do this? How am I supposed to sit? How am I supposed to? There's so many like subtle things
Yeah.
and nuances about meditation that I feel what we can do is create this container
Yeah.
to help elevate mothers and help them understand like this is the process. And we have another meditation by you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, to speak to that, there's something about when a collective gets together and points to the same intention
Mm,
that, listen, I don't make the rules, but it's just so clear in the data that there's an extra force, an extra momentum in it that causes a kickstart. And also, even when it comes to meditation, there can be overwhelming information. Do this, don't do this. And so we're here to bring it into its simplest form. So it
mhm.
doesn't feel like this far-fetched thing. It's like literally right there, so in front of you, that is so reachable and just right there.
Yeah.
And having you be able to see the simplicity,
Mm,
and of course once you get a beat and that intelligence does activate, that supreme intelligence begins to activate in your stillness, you will then be guided wherever you're meant to go. You will just be obvious, it will continue to present itself, and a
mhm.
conversation will suddenly appear, a certain type of meditation or breath work, or all these things. Of course there's so much, but
Yeah.
we're bringing it down to its simplest form.
Mm. And being in a collective of people that are wanting to create more awareness in their life, more stillness, like it does really help you. I think it helps you stay consistent. It helps you, I don't know, there is a force behind it, Ange, and I
100%.
100%,
In
100%.
this day and age, we have to get that it's not even like we're not meant to do this alone. We can't. There's
Mm-mm,
too much of a force out there, that of the chaos.
mhm.
That collective momentum of the go 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 do, and the pings and the dings and the thing, it's too strong.
So strong.
So we now are meant to do this together. We've got to like get that in. It's not just like, oh, I hope you like to join it. No, we're
No.
meant to have that extra
Mhm.
force
Mhm.
to cause our own awakening.
Mm. So beautiful. And what's even so beautiful is just creating connections with people that are on a similar path. There's nothing like that.
Yeah, what a gift.
I know. It's going to be so much fun.
Yeah.
So I really hope you're going to join us. For more information, look at the show notes. There'll be a link down there for you to get more information for our meditation workshop. So, and thank you so much. And we have another guided meditation by Angela too, just to start getting your feet wet. And if you can be even in this consistent, just with one meditation, you're going to start to really see how powerful this is. And then you just got to come join us, because it really is the only thing I believe in my whole life that I discovered that could truly change your life. Nothing else is going to make big promises. You're going to always be the same person. You got to come inside and start the change there.
Yes. Game changer.
Game changer. All right, Ange, thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
All right, everyone, go to the show notes, get information about our meditation workshops, and we'll catch you on the next Hippie Moms podcast. Bye.